Down the line, TJ was one of 3 double-figure scorers for Pacific. 17 points for Ray Bowles. 7 of 17 shooting, 2 of 5 from the line. Ray had 5 rebounds, 3 assists. After getting off to a slow start over the first couple of games, Ray Bowles has maybe started to turn a corner here. 22 points in Reno the other night and 17 points here tonight.
I had a couple players sometimes that had 4 or 5 games just terrible. And I'd bring them in, I'd cut off the stat sheet and say, look, we're going to start from this point forward. Because if you look at your stats with everything, it'll never look good. So we just kind of cut theirs off and started there and build them, and then it gets their confidence going a little better.
You were a psychological master, I'll tell you what.
Sometimes you had to.
And I've learned more about you in that sense now working with you than I ever did when I was watching you coach, but you knew how to get the guys motivated. 13 points for David Taylor on 5 of 8 shooting. Very efficient for David. 5 of 8 from the floor, 3 of 5 from outside. I think what's most encouraging about David, when he had open looks, he didn't really hesitate except for maybe that one down there in the first half, but he took the shots with confidence, and more often than not, they went in.
Well, David's a player that needs to get the ball off the catch, and if people deny him the ball hard, he might not score that much, but what he's doing, he's creating space for those other players to drive the ball to the basket or get the ball inside.
So those are the double-figure scores for the Tigers. 8 points for Jack Williams. Tell you what, Jack Williams is one of these guys, even when he's 1 of 10 from the floor, as he was tonight, he was 6 of 7 from the line. He had 8 rebounds to match his 8 points. And he just finds ways to stay involved. If he's, even on a bad night from the floor, he's still getting after.
When you look at a bad night, you have to judge it. Is there all those shots he should have took, or are there 4 or 5 shots that he shouldn't have took? And then you have to. That's why you watch film and you want to see their anxiousness. Or if you're taking all those shots are good shots, you don't say a word. You just get on to the next game. But I thought tonight, Towns really helped them the first half.
Mm-hmm.
I thought KJ Smith played a really good floor game. It was nice to see him hit that last 3 because he's a good 3-point shooter. I think he had an air ball and a clunker off the rim, but he made a great drive in the first half, made a great pass for a layup. I think that is kind of a breakout game for him.
Down the line, we talked about Williams with his 8 points, 6 points for Tonko Vuko, 11 rebounds for Tonko Vuko, 6 points, 11 rebounds on 1 of 3 for Tonko, 4 of 4 from the line. 5 points for KJ Smith, who we just talked about, 2 of 4 from the floor for KJ, 1 of 3 from outside. 4 points for DJ Ursery on 2 of 3, and 2 points for Anthony Towns on 1 of 1. Towns had 7 rebounds, 4 of them on the offensive glass, and those offensive boards, Coach, came in the first half, and they really buoyed the Tigers because they weren't shooting the ball well in the first half.
No, and he gave them not only a good hustle plays, but he kind of got them those extra shots that they needed to hang in there, because I think Sac State had about a 6-7 point lead, in the first half, and he really helped them a lot with his energy.
The Tigers in the first half, as I mentioned, shot 39%. Not much better in the second half, 40%. For the game, they shot just 39.7%. From beyond the arc, they were efficient enough, 6 of 15 for the game. But it's amazing what a difference a decent performance from the line makes. I mean, 22 of 30 from the line for a team that is coming in shooting 65% from the line or whatever it was. You'll take 22 of 30, won't you?
Yeah, it was a good performance, especially down the stretch. They were struggling early, but then they started making their free throws down the stretch. And it was 6-1, I think, the fouls, 6 on the Tigers, and only 1 on Sac State. And Sac State had 4 possessions row where they fouled, and the Tigers got back in that 1-on-1, the double bonus quick, and that really separated the score.
Kind of ironic that the Tigers shoot 30 free throws tonight, one game after Nevada shot 30 free throws and Tigers only shot 5 the other night. They get 30 of them tonight.
You look at it, and sometimes you can blame refs on missed calls, and then sometimes maybe one team is playing more position and not fouling as much, and so you just got to look at the game overall. I remember I coached a game one time that the other team didn't have 1 free throw the whole game, and we won 55-54, and they didn't shoot 1 free throw. So sometimes you can say, well, that's a homer, but if you don't foul, sometimes you can get away with it.
You're not going to like this, but there was one game that I did when you were coaching where your team didn't shoot any free throws. You know what game I'm talking about?
I don't remember it, but I know it happened.
It was at Maples Pavilion at Stanford. It was 2011-12. Hey, but then you took that same team.
We did not deserve any free throws that night.
That was a tough night. But then you took that same team to the tournament the next year. So that ended up being your masterpiece.
You say the same team, even though a lot of the players are the same, those guys really developed their confidence and their toughness and the feel for the game of basketball. They really improved a lot.
Yeah, that was a low point of that season, but boy, it turned around the next season. Let's take a look now at Sac State. They also had 3 players in double figures. Justin Strings, 18 points to lead the Hornets on 6 of 10 shooting, 1 of 1 from outside, 5 of 9 from the line. And, Strings just has that look about him like, he's going to get his every night. I mean, he's a big guy, skilled enough. He's not shooting a high percentage this year, but it's a stark contrast to what he was doing last year. But 18 points, 7 rebounds.
I think it's a good start for him. I mean, he's been struggling scoring. I think once they get him established scoring consistently, I think that's going to help their team, and they can share the load. I think this team's going to have a little hard time finding ways to score, and they're going to have to execute, and they're going to have to cut down their mistakes and cut down their fouls, because I don't think they can go out and score 80 points a game. I think they're going to have to win games, 68, 64.
Yeah. Well, 15 points for Eric Studeville on 7 of 10 shooting. Studeville, I'll tell you, he got some high percentage shots in this game. That's one thing that Stoudemire might talk to his team about. I mean, there were some defensive breakdowns as it pertained to Studeville getting easy looks.
Well, I mean, they're so hard on screens, the Tigers, so when they roll hard to the basket, I mean, you need help down there. People need to help to keep that ball out of there, and the ball got down there. And in the second half, Sammy got behind him one time, and he couldn't score. Another time, he took a little too much time and took a bad shot, so he didn't score as much the second half as he did the first half, but he was effective, and I think that's a big game for him.
10 points for Nick Hornsby on 3 of 9 shooting. He was 1 of 2 from outside, 3 of 6 from the line. He as well had 7 rebounds for Sac State. So those are the 3 guys in double figures. Down the line, 8 points for Marcus Graves. Graves on 3 of 11 shooting, 2 of 3 from the line. He had 4 rebounds, 3 assists. Graves was pretty good off the dribble at times, especially in the first half. He just didn't finish, as evidenced by 3 of 11 from the floor.
I thought the first half, and maybe even about the first 10 minutes of the second half, he played very well. He was hard to guard. He got in there, he passed. I thought the last 10 minutes of the game, he just tried to do too much, and it seemed like it got out of character, and it went the other way.
So 8 points for Graves, 5 points for Grant Dressler, and 2 points for Chibuzi Jacobs. And those came from the line in garbage time. Sac State, they didn't shoot the ball particularly well either tonight. Tick better than the Tigers, 43% in the first half, 38% in the second half, so 8 of 21. For the game, they shot 41%, 21 of 51. From beyond the arc, Sac State did not attempt many three-point field goals, and they were only 3 of 10 from outside. From the line, Sac State really had a hard time from the line tonight, Coach. 13 of 25 and 52%.
You just can't shoot like that from the line. You got to capitalize yourself on that. And they seem like they're better shooters than that percentage, and I think they'll probably shoot a higher percentage as the year goes on.
When you had teams that struggled from the line, I mean, what do? Like that's something you can't really coach, right? I mean, you can have the guys get their reps in practice and all that, but when you got a team that struggles from the line, you're stuck with it, aren't you?
Well, I think there's a couple things you can do. Number one, you want to make sure your best shooters are getting fouled. That's good. Number two is when you go up the line, you got to get in a rhythm, and if you can mentally talk to yourself through that rhythm, it takes away all the pressure, the free throw, or the situation, or what you did last time. And so I think you can work on that. And but if you don't have good shooters, it's tough, and that's why you got to have good shooters in your basketball team nowadays. I mean, you almost need 4 out there in the court at all times, and you can get away with 3, but you better have 4.
So that's the Sac State numbers. Points in the paint, Tigers won that battle by 2, 24 to 22. Turnovers, both teams were really good taking care of the basketball. Sac State turned the ball over 12 times. Pacific had 19 points off those turnovers. So the Tigers did make hay when Sac State turned the ball over. How about Pacific, Coach? 8 turnovers, and Sac State only 1 point per turnover, 8 points off of 8 Tiger turnovers. That's pretty good.
That's really good, and I think when you take care of the ball and you do a great job in the offensive rebound, that means at the game you're going to have more possessions than the other team. And while the Tigers aren't shooting a great percentage, that's going to pay dividends.
Good win tonight for Pacific.
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
win.
Every time you can win, you've got to enjoy the wins. Whether you play great or play so-so, but there's a lot of positives. Like I agree with them where they haven't played a 40-minute game yet, and they're going to have to get to the point where they can play some 40-minute games if they're going to be successful, especially on the road.
All right, well, that about does it for us. A reminder that our next game is going to be on the radio. It will be Saturday, so in 2 nights at Cal State Fullerton from Titan Gym It'll be a 6 p.m. start time. We'll have the pregame show beginning at 5:45. That will be on 1280 AM KWSX here in town, and you can listen from anywhere via the iHeart radio app. Would like to thank Michael January and his entire crew, his outstanding crew working tonight on the W.TV to get this game produced and directed. My partner, Coach Bob Thomason. My name is Zach Bayruti. Thanks so much for being with us. Again, our final score, Pacific 74, Sacramento State 58. We'll see you on the radio Saturday night from Cal State Fullerton, the pregame beginning at 5:45 on the Pacific Digital Network. For now, so long from Stockton. This has been Pacific Tigers men's basketball on the W.TV.